All right, so we are live, everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And we are particularly excited because this is February. And February for us means that we kick out all the men, and we spend the entire month showcasing incredible women in science and exploration from around the globe. Particularly, our speaker today, which is really exciting. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, but I will lead off by saying that the two most watched videos of all time on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants are both with her. So you guys are in for a treat. We're so excited to have her and baby today taking a nap. We've got 6 classes joining us from across North America, so I want to give them a chance to say a big shout out and show how excited they are for Emily. And so we've got Miss Antunes, grade 4s in York in Pennsylvania. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, there's so many of you. I love it. We've got Miss Wheaton's grade 5, 6s in Stavely in Alberta, messing with their tech. Hey, oh, they're still slightly getting it working, but they're there and they're excited, and I'll send them a message in a minute. We've got Miss Holtz, grade 5s in Innisfail in Alberta. Hi, guys. Hey, welcome in. Can't get rid of you guys lately. You're in all our sessions. I love it. We've got Mr. Ruffins, grade 5s in Rochester in Minnesota. I know their class is just coming in right on the hour. So, oh, they're there. Hey, guys. So your mic's not demuting, but we can say hi. We can do a big wave to you guys. And nice chairs, by the way. Man, when I was in school, I had to walk uphill both ways in the snow. We've got Miss Carton's grade 3, 4s in Anchorage in Alaska. Hi, guys. Hey, welcome in. And last but not least, we have got Miss Hardy's grade 4s in Canton in Illinois. Hi, guys. Hey, all right. Of course, the reason you guys are all joining us today is for our speaker. So we are joined live on the road by Emily Calandrelli. So she is an MIT engineer turned TV host. She is the lead person on Fox's Xploration Outer Space. She's a correspondent on Bill Nye Saves the World. She is the author of the Ada Lace STEM book series, which is fantastic, among many, many other accomplishments. So I'm going to turn it over to her in a second to share a little bit about the amazing adventures that she gets to do. Without further ado, thank you so much for joining us, Emily, and take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me. This was, I planned this a while ago, and then we did a last-minute trip to Boston. So I have my daughter with me, and I'm in a random hotel here in Boston with some weird things behind me. So hopefully, my daughter behaves and nobody comes into this room in a hotel, and we can do this very quickly and easily. So my name is Emily Calandrelli. I'm an MIT engineer turned science TV show host. My main job is a Saturday morning TV host on a show called Xploration Outer Space. For that show, I get to travel all around the country and interview scientists and engineers who are working on rockets and spaceships and rovers on Mars and searching for aliens and everything in between. And it is just my absolute dream job because I studied as an aerospace engineer. And so now I get to go and talk to some of the smartest people all around the country and ask them any question I want about space. And so it's so fun. I've had the most adventures. I've been able to fly and do flips in aerobatic planes. I've jumped out of a plane. I skydived to show how parachutes help robots land on other planets. I have gone in a human centrifuge, which is this device that spins like this. It spins really, really fast. And so because of the centrifugal force, it makes you feel really, really heavy and go back in your seat, and you feel like you're launching into space. I've been able to go to the tops of volcanoes in Hawaii to see the most famous observatories in the world that study the night sky and study the universe. And it is just absolutely a dream job of mine. I'm also a correspondent for Bill Nye. I can see your guys' video. Raise your hand if you've heard of Bill Nye. Does anyone here know Bill Nye? Okay, I knew Bill Nye because when I was growing up, Bill Nye was one of the most famous scientists. He was so fun on his show. He was just one of my idols. And I get to be a correspondent for his show on Netflix called Bill Nye Saves the World. And that show is a little bit different because that one is more international. Because my show is more in the United States, where I get to show the cool stuff that happens in the United States. But there is cool space stuff going on all over the world. And for that show, I got to travel all the way to India, and I got to interview a company that wants to become one of the first private companies to land a robot on the moon. And it's a really, really cool company in India called Team Indus, and they want to land on the moon with a bunch of like 20-year-old engineers that are building this robot. It's kind of like their Apollo program. For us, our Apollo program was with a bunch of really, really young engineers, making sure that we could bring boots to the moon. And they are doing the same thing, but bringing a robot to the moon. And that was really cool. So the other thing that I do is I'm a children's book author for a book series called The Ada Lace Adventures. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what it looks like. Let's see here.
Perfect.
Oh, see, okay, so these are my books. These are the Ada Lace Adventures. And the Ada Lace Adventures is a book meant for ages 6 to 10 years old. And it's about this third grader named Ada Lace who loves to go on adventures to solve mysteries with science and technology. So she's a girl after my own heart. She loves science and technology, and she loves to solve problems with what she knows, science and technology. And right now there are 5 books in the series. And I wanted to make this book because when I was little and I wanted to read about cool science stories, there weren't a lot of books that featured little girls as the main character. And so when I was old enough, I created one. And now this has a really, really cool character, Ada Lace, that is just really wonderful with science and technology. The next thing I wanted to show you was how I got interested in space. A lot of people ask me because on the internet, I'm known as the space gal. And people say, how did you get interested in space? Well, when I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to study. And I remember walking down the hallways of the engineering building and being like, what do I want to study? And I saw a poster on the wall that had people floating in space. And on that poster, it said something like, do your homework weightless. I was like, what is this? What kind of class is this? And it turns out it was a class where you could design an experiment and fly on something called the vomit comet. Raise your hand if any one of you has heard of the vomit comet. Oh, some of you, but not all of you. Okay, the vomit comet is the coolest thing you will ever learn about. The vomit comet is an airplane that flies in the air like a roller coaster. It is literally like a 10,000-foot roller coaster in the sky that flies like this. And like a roller coaster, if any of you have ever ridden one, when you go over a hump, your butt lifts off your seat and you get a little bit of airtime. Well, it's like that, but you get 30 seconds of airtime, 30 seconds when your butt lifts off your seat. And so basically what happens is when it flies like this 10,000-foot roller coaster, and it goes over the hump and dives back down, the people inside the plane float weightless for 30 seconds. And you feel like an astronaut, and it is the coolest experience ever. And I have a clip of what that looks like. Because I flew on it when I was in school, but I also flew on it 2 more times when I had my TV show. And so I'm very, very lucky. This is not something that a lot of people get to do. And I feel very, very honored to be able to do that because of my show. And I'll show you this slow-mo clip of me and my friend, Sam, flying in zero gravity. And I'll tell you a little bit about the experience while it's playing. So basically, Sam and I are flying in this plane. Sam has a bunch of dance that he's trying to do in weightlessness. It was an experiment for him. He wanted to see how different dance moves look differently in weightlessness. He's a professional dancer here on Earth. And so he's doing this beautiful dance move. You can see me, I'm taking a selfie of myself and trying to eat some candy. I'm dropping all of the candy, and I am just really not so graceful about it. You can see the candy absolutely everywhere. And Sam is trying to gear up for his next dance move. Here he goes. He's going to do a little bit of a flip. There we go. That's beautiful. I'm over here running into the cameraman like a good TV show host. And Sam's laughing at me because I don't know what I'm doing. I will say my hair has never looked more voluminous. If you want your hair to look beautiful, just go inside a weightless aircraft because it will look very, very voluminous. It's okay, baby.
Mom can't really fly. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to do it one day. You'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
And just look at our faces as we fly over the camera. There has never been happier faces in the history of time. It's okay, baby. And you can tell this is just one of the most wonderful experiences ever. But one of the other reasons why I love the space industry and how I grew to love the space industry is because the scientists and engineers in this industry ask two of the biggest questions that humans have ever asked, two of the most profound questions that humans have ever asked. And that's, where did we come from? And are we alone in the universe, right? Where did we come from? One of the theories that I really like on this front is called Panspermia. And this theory called Panspermia is essentially a theory that life hitchhikes through the universe using meteorites. So basically the idea is that life exists on other planets and a meteorite would hit that planet and bring that life over somewhere else. So some people think that life existed on Mars. Oh, it's okay, baby.
If you want to take a second, Emily, and comfort the baby, I can just talk a little bit about some of our other space presentations we've had for the last.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. So she's talking about panspermia right now. And so this is something that we love to highlight here at Exploring by the Sea to Your Pants. All October is a space month. And then throughout the year, we bring in amazing astronomers, NASA engineers, Canadian Space Agency engineers just the other day to talk about really amazing theories on astronomy, generally on going into space as astronauts and getting to go one step further than Emily got to do when she was actually just on the Vomit Comet, which is fantastic. And so if you guys are keen on that, again, all those sessions live on our YouTube channel. The moment we finish any session, it goes straight to there. So if you want to dive in with people that get to work on this every single day, there's a lot of opportunities out there. I really recommend Natalie Ouellette's sessions. She's done a lot with us over the last few months, and we really love her. She operates out of Montreal. And so if you're keen on a follow-up to this when you're done, you just want to keep the learning going, that's just a great thing to do. Emily, is it all good? I don't want to.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
We all good. So panspermia, as Jesse was describing, it's this wonderful theory. And I love, some people believe that maybe life originated on Mars because nearly 4 billion years ago, Mars was actually a bit more habitable than Earth. And so there's this theory that life may have originated on Mars. A big meteorite hit Mars, brought that life and dust and rocks into the atmosphere going so fast that it flew through the solar system and landed on Earth. So that would mean that potentially we are all Martians. So I really love that theory. I think that one's really fun. And there's rovers and robots that we're bringing to Mars to test out that theory, right? Because these are all just guesses as to what happened in our history. As scientists, we have to go out and test those guesses, go out and collect evidence to figure out the answers to those questions. And so that's what we're doing today. The second question, are we alone in the universe? Raise your hand if you think that there are aliens out there. I personally, I think that the universe is so vast and so big. There's so many planets out there, so many planets that are like Earth out there, that it's impossible that we are the only ones that exist in the universe. So I personally think aliens are out there. And one of the cool ways that we're looking for aliens is that we're listening for them. We're not looking for them with binoculars or with really powerful telescopes. We're looking for signs of habitable planets using those methods. But one of the ways we're listening for intelligent life, like you and I, is with telescopes like this. This is a radio telescope. This is the Green Bank Radio Telescope in West Virginia. And we're listening because humans are intelligent. One of the reasons we're intelligent is because we build and use technology. Well, that technology makes noise with radio waves. And those radio waves, they escape our universe, they escape our solar system and atmosphere and go through the universe at the speed of light. And so if another planet was using technology, those radio waves would similarly come towards all other places in the universe at the speed of light, and we could listen for them with these radio telescopes. So if there's intelligent life out there, eventually we will find it. And one of the other reasons I love the space industry is because space technology can help make life better here on Earth. And one quick example of that is that there are companies out there that are launching thousands of satellites into space, trying to create the largest satellite constellation that has ever surrounded our planet. And they're doing that to bring internet to the world. Because a fun fact that's not so fun is that only half of the world has internet today. And internet is this very, very powerful tool. If you think about it, we use it from way more than just social media. Internet can bring educational materials to places without very good schools, or healthcare information to places without doctors or without hospitals. Internet is this tool that can be used to build businesses and build economies of different nations, and only half of the world has it. So imagine how the world will change when the World Wide Web is actually worldwide, and space is trying to make that happen. Now, this is the last reason why I love space and why I love the space industry, and mostly why I love being an engineer, is because by studying engineering, I learned a lot of tools to do some cool stuff. And I wanted to show you how I announced my pregnancy. You saw my daughter, she's 5 months old. And about a year ago, I announced that I was pregnant with her. And this is my first baby, and I was really, really excited. And I wanted to tell the world in a very, very unique way. So here is how I told them.
Emily, the audio isn't really coming through on this. If you want
it's not coming through.
No, that's okay. It seldom does on Zoom. Sometimes it's really iffy, but we can see it happening. But if you want
Okay, so I'll explain.
Sorry.
So this is me building a high altitude balloon. It's basically like a weather balloon. And in that box that you see launching is a very, very special payload. And you'll see it in just a little bit. Right now, we're just watching the launch. There are cameras. I had 2 cameras, one facing that way, one facing the other way. So I had video of the entire launch. And it went higher and higher and higher, to the point where it looked like it was in space. I mean, it didn't reach space. Balloons, it's impossible for any balloon to reach space, but it goes high enough that it kind of looks like space. You're starting to see the darkness of space because you're up above all of that atmosphere. Our sky only looks blue because of the atmosphere. And so you get higher and higher and higher up into the atmosphere, it starts to look black. And this is me checking my pregnancy test. I videoed myself checking my pregnancy test. And this is when I am learning that I am going to become a mom for the first time. And so because of that, I launched my ultrasound to the edge of space using a balloon. And I learned how to do that from being an engineer, because you had to really code up different sensors with, I used and just a basic circuit board. And so I could tell the altitude, the temperature, the pressure, all the way up, and I could power my camera devices. And I was able to get this beautiful, beautiful shot of my daughter when she was in my belly, with just that curvature of the earth and the darkness of space. And for me, that was just the best way I could have ever announced that I was pregnant. And so, yeah, those are all of the reasons that I love the space industry. Those are all the things that I'm doing today. I know we're hitting about the 20-minute mark, and I want to leave plenty of time for questions from you all. So that's all I have. And please, yeah, let me know what questions you have.
Fantastic. Well, as always, thank you so much, Emily. And I love this like completely unbeatable pregnancy reveal of all time. So way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. We've got 6 classes live, as I said. We've got a few more groups watching on YouTube. So if you guys want to type in your questions in the chat bar, don't be shy, please do. I'll take as many as I can. But let's begin by going to Miss Antunes' group. If you guys have a question to kick us off, come on up.
Come on up. All right.
Hi. I do have a question. Do you know how many women have been in NASA between 2019 and 2020?
Been at NASA. NASA has a lot of employees and they have a lot of contractors that work for NASA. And right now in the space industry, it's not even. There's not 50-50 men and women. I don't know the exact number. If I had to guess, it would probably be around, I would say like 15%, maybe 20%. I don't know the exact number, but right now there's still more men than women at NASA. But I will say the astronauts that they accept, those are about 50-50 men and women. And if you saw today, astronaut Christina, she came back from Earth after 328 days in space. She was one of the women that all-female spacewalk, and she also just completed the longest single space flight for a woman, and she just came home today.
So cool. Thank you so much for that. I was just going to share that. Actually, I had the whole link up and everything. So I'll pass along the link when we're done to the classes. So if you guys want to learn more about that, you can. But for now, let's go to Miss Wheaton's class, who I think got something working. They've got two things on. So we're going to hope that they can hear us and see us. Yeah, if you guys have a question, go for it. Yep, come on up. That's okay.
How has the solar,
Okay, so you guys have two devices on, so it's got reverberation. So I'll come back in 2 seconds, try and sort that out, and I'll come right back. Miss Holt's class, if you guys have a question, go for it.
What is the most coolest thing you've studied about space?
Ooh.
Oh gosh, that is such a tough question. I would say one of the most interesting things that I learned recently is that, in the history of humankind, there have only been 600 people, less than 600 people that have ever gone into space. And that's not very many people. And why going into space is cool is because when astronauts leave the atmosphere and they look back down on the Earth, they see Earth without the boundaries that we've created between nations. They see Earth without war and poverty. They see Earth above the atmosphere. They see it as this tiny blue dot that's very, very fragile in the vacuum of space. When they come back, they talk about this overview effect where they come back and they want to be better neighbors to each other, better stewards of the environment, better to the environment. They have all of these profound effects when they come back, but only fewer than 600 people have ever gone. And most of those people are engineers. They're very similar. They're mostly men, they're mostly white men, and they're mostly from the United States. And so when they come back and share their story, they share it from a very similar perspective. But companies like Virgin Galactic, if you've heard of them, Virgin Galactic is the space tourism company that wants to fly tourists into space for the low price of $250,000. So not everybody can afford it, but they have already sold over 700 tickets, meaning once they start flying, they will more than double the number of people who have seen our Earth from beyond our atmosphere. And I think that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. All right, I'm going to try, Ms. Wheaton. I'm going to try demuting your second device and see if this works. And then try and come up and see if we can hear you that way. And if not, you'll have to type in your question in the chat bar, okay? Let's try. Stavely, because I'd love to take a question from you guys. Oh, let's do this one too. Okay, it really doesn't want to work. Okay, Ms. Wheaton, try now.
how has the solar system and the world changed over time?
Fantastic.
How has the solar system and the world changed over time? Well, our solar system is about, I want to say 4.6 billion years old. And gosh, I mean, it took a long time for for life to develop here on Earth. It evolved over a very, very long period of time. I know our moon was created when a Mars-sized object hit the Earth and created this moon. So it didn't all exist like this. It had to be formed, it had to be collided. All of that stuff, I would say the moon, our moon has changed a lot over time because we don't have, there's no real atmosphere on the moon. It doesn't have oceans, it doesn't have earthquakes. And so everything that impacts the moon, that impact stays there. So it's covered in craters and everything all over the moon. And so, yeah, mostly lots of impacts, lots of things happening over time. Mars was once habitable. Some people think an ocean that was a third the size of the planet, and now it's very dusty and dry. So yeah, lots of changes over the last 4.6 billion years.
Yeah, and so much of this we're exploring for the first time. You said this in your bio, that it's like the most exciting time to ever be interested in space or wanting to go to space. And can you elaborate a little bit on why that might be?
Yes, so before, when we first started going to space during the Apollo days, the only people going to space were the United States and Russia, only these really big government agencies. And maybe could you elaborate for a little bit and I'll
I sure can. Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
So again, we work with a lot of fantastic space people, and so Emily will elaborate on this in just a second. But one of the things that's really exciting is that, again, more countries than ever are going to space. Emily talked about working with an Indian group that wants to put people on the moon. We have other countries from around the world, certainly Canada and the US have immense space programs now. And then we're exploring new worlds. You look at the moons of Saturn, and you look at the moons of Jupiter, and we're going to explore these places and possibly find water, possibly find life, explore places that we've never explored before. And for you guys who are literally the age of are going to be our next astronauts, we're going back to the moon. We're going to Mars for the first time in your lifetimes, right about when you guys will be excited to do that. So I hope that's a good intro explanation.
Oh, amazing. The only the tagline for this decade that we're experiencing right now is that there are more people exploring space than ever before in history, and they're all doing it in different ways. And so there's lots of fun things to get excited about.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to head to Mr. Ruffin's class. If you guys have a question, come on up and you're good to go.
What is one of your most fun experiences working with technology and engineering?
Yeah, working with technology. I mean, honestly, I think building my high altitude balloon, because it took me like 3 full months, maybe 4 months to build it. And it was hard. There's a lot of times where I almost stopped because I was like, am I going to be able to learn how to code this thing? Am I going to be able to make sure that it launches? How am I going to get helium? There's this helium shortage in the world right now. And it was really, really hard to get helium, a problem that I did not think was going to be the hardest part of this project. And, you know, when we launched it, we had to drive 4 hours to find it, because when you launch a balloon, it's going to come down somewhere. And for me to get the cool video footage that you saw, I had to chase it down. And so I had GPS devices on the payload that was telling me where the balloon was flying. And as soon as I got that GPS coordinates, I put it into my Google Maps, and we were driving down the road. We had to drive 3.5 hours to find it, and it fell down in someone's farm. And so I was running into the farm, and I grabbed the payload and I ran out to, you know, I was afraid that somebody was going to yell at me. I was afraid of getting in trouble. So we had to do it really, really quickly before somebody got mad at us. And because it was so hard and because it was so cool, that was one of my favorite experiences with science and technology, because you can do a lot of really, really cool stuff with tech. And sometimes it's hard. But when it is hard and you keep pushing yourself to learn and you ask for help and you Google online how to do it, I mean, there's ways to overcome the challenges that you see, but the payoff is so, so cool. So that's probably one of the coolest projects I've ever done.
I would say so. Very neat. Thanks, Emily. All right, I want to take a YouTube question. So Miss Ford's class, Piper wants to know, how many planets do you think are in the entire universe?
Oh my gosh, so many. Before, this is wild, because before about 20 some years ago, we weren't sure if there were any other planets outside of our solar system. And now we know that there's at least probably one planet per star that we see in the sky. Go out into the night sky and just look up and see all of those little specks of light, that there is a planet for every star that you see in the sky. And so billions and billions and billions of planets. It's wild. We're still finding new ones all the time. So if you want to discover something, if you want to become an astronomer, you can be the person that discovers a new planet that nobody ever knew existed before.
Yeah. One of my favorite analogies is that there are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand in all the beaches of the world. So if you think of it that way, think that each of those might have a planet and all the worlds out there. This is why you're so convinced that there are other alien life out there, because
Absolutely. Yep.
such a waste of space otherwise.
Exactly.
Fantastic. All right, let's head to Miss Carton's group. If you guys have a question, come on up.
I'm gonna have you come on up. So we have lots of questions.
I
So
bet.
We're gonna save some and maybe send them out through an email. Would be great.
Fantastic. Yes. And
Yeah.
we're going to keep this a little shorter than usual because there's a baby involved. So we're going to try and
There
take
you
one
go.
question per
What's your
class
question?
for sure. Go for
Oh, you erased it? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take Eva's. Come on up.
it.
Go ahead and ask.
What is the most amazing and scariest thing you've seen?
Ooh, I'll tell you one of the scariest things I did recently. The scariest thing that I had done recently was I had to scuba dive 50 feet below the water in the ocean off of the coast of Key West in Florida. And I scuba dived 50 feet below the water, and it was really dark and murky, and I couldn't see in front of my, if I put my hand out like this, I could barely see it. It was so scary, and I did that for my TV show, Xploration Outer Space. And you might think, why would you scuba dive for a space show? But astronauts, NASA researchers, go down 50 feet below the surface into this habitat they've called Aquarius. And this habitat is kind of like a mini space station below the water. And they do this to practice many different types of things, like how to live in an isolated area for days at a time. You're in this little tin can deep in the ocean, and if you leave the tin can, it's actually pretty dangerous. You can't breathe underwater, right? You have to have a space suit, kind of, to leave the tin can. And it's very similar to astronauts living on the space station, because they can't leave the space station without an apparatus, without something to breathe. And so researchers go down to Aquarius to practice living in isolated environments and dangerous environments with a team of other researchers. And I wanted to show my viewers this thing for my show. But fun fact, scuba diving is one of my biggest fears. I do not like being in the deep ocean. I do not like not being able to breathe out of my nose. I was very scared of drowning, and I had to overcome my fear to be able to see this thing. And so I got into the water and I started having a little bit of a panic attack, and I was doing, and it took a little while for me to get comfortable. And eventually I overcame my fear, and we scuba dived down to the bottom, and I got to see Aquarius, which is really cool.
Two quick follow-ups on that. One is that we've done about 6 sessions with Aquarius Reef Base from the bottom before. So if you guys want to check out our YouTube channel, we actually have 60 feet beneath the waves. It's super cool. And if you want to scuba dive yourself, and a lot of people are afraid of the difficulties of it, but I think you'd attest that it's a really worthwhile experience. You can do it at 10 years old. So pretty much every class today can go out and start learning to scuba dive today. It's one of the coolest things you'll ever do. I highly encourage that. All right, I'm going to take 2 more questions before we wrap up, okay? If that's okay with you, Emily, are you still good?
I'm good. We're good.
Perfect.
She's fighting sleep right now.
Yeah. Miss Sipes' class, we want to, Miss Sipes' class wanted to know, where is that question? How would you drink water in space, Emily?
Well, I've seen videos of astronauts drinking water in space, and you don't use a cup really, because the cup wouldn't necessarily hold the water in when there's no gravity to hold it down. So a lot of times they just squeeze out the water and like grab it in the air. So you should look at, I would Google videos of astronauts drinking water in space because it looks really cool. It's just like little globules of water that are floating in the air and they can like reach out and grab it. It's pretty cool.
NASA and the Canadian Space Agency's YouTube channels are awesome for those sort of things. Like whatever you're interested in, there are videos there for what people are like when they're in space. All right, we're going to wrap up with one more from Miss Hardy's class. If you guys want to come up, go for it.
We wanted to tell you first that we did a virtual field trip to the Aquarius with the Aquanauts. So we're very familiar with it and we're so excited to hear that.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to ask,
Something.
what do I have to study to have a job like her?
Wow. So let's see here. I do a lot of different things that aren't super related to the degree that I had. So I'm a science TV show host, and I think that I'm a better TV show host because I have a background in science. And so I would say that if you want to become a TV show host about a particular topic in science, I would go get a degree in that science, whether it be biology or chemistry or aerospace engineering or mechanical engineering or whatever you're passionate about. But when you're getting a degree, when you're studying those things, I would make sure that you're telling other people about what you're learning, because communication of science and technology is a really, really useful skill, especially if you want to become a science YouTuber or a science TV show host. So in school, make sure you're paying attention in your science and math classes. See if there's any extracurriculars that you can do, like Lego robotics or FIRST robotics. And when you're doing those things, make sure that you tell other people what you're learning. Maybe go and volunteer to the younger grades that are even younger than you and say, this is what I'm learning in Lego robotics. This is what I'm learning in FIRST robotics, and share all of the cool things that you're learning. And in that way, you will also be a science communicator.
I think, Emily, you'd agree that this opportunity to share the things you love with people and get paid to do it is like the greatest gig of all time. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I feel very lucky.
So you know what? I know we could have questions all day from the class, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to relax amidst your tour. So I want to follow up with one more quick thing. I know that a cause really close to your heart is ensuring that girls are inspired by science especially. And so where can we send, I mean, people of all genders, but where can we send girls especially to learn more about science, about jobs for them, about anything that you'd like to share? Please.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Well, I would say reading books with females as the lead is really helpful. The Ada Lace Adventures. There's a lot of really good books at Barnes & Noble that you can find. Rosie the Riveter is another really good one. They have books of women in science that are really lovely. I would mostly follow a lot of YouTubers too that do science, female YouTubers that do science. So the Physics Girl, or Vanessa Hill. There's Simon Yertz. She's a robotics engineer that she creates a lot of robotics. There's just a lot of really cool women on YouTube doing science. Danny Washington is another female science TV show host that you should check out. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool women doing science out there. Science Sam is doing science on Instagram. We're all doing really, really cool things. And yeah, in general, I would check out clubs that are for women in science. Girls Who Code is a really good one to check out. And yeah, do FIRST robotics, Lego robotics. Those are all really great too.
Amazing. Well, we're going to pass along as many of those resources as we can remember to all the classes when we're done. So Emily, as you know, at the end of every session, what we do, I'm going to demute everyone's microphones. And so boys and girls, if you guys get ready to join me in saying a huge thank you to Emily, you are all now demuted. Go for it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And I'm here for a picture. Whoever at that classroom that wants to take a picture, I'm here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And for our classes, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Please do join us for the rest of the month. Amazing women in science from all across the globe. Emily, thank you so much. This is such a thrill.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me out with the baby. I appreciate it.
No problem. Bye.